Welcome to our world-renowned podcast, Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray. I'm a TEDx and keynote speaker and author. Also, I'm executive producer of the movie Show Her the Money. Plus, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. Our weekly show features interviews with powerhouse women founders, funders, and change makers that are sure to inspire you. Let's go. Welcome to this week's edition of Invest in Her, your favorite podcast of the week, and, well, at least I hope it is. And I'm Catherine Gray, your host. I am the founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. Also executive producer of the movie Show Her the Money, which hopefully you have seen. It is now on Amazon and Apple TV, so be sure to check it out. It's all about the underfunding of women and how we're going to fix that. And I'm so happy to have my next guest on today. Her name is Avanthi Shah, and she is a general partner at deep tech fund called NextVersed Ventures, and also a leader of NextVersed AI. We're all talking about AI, right? Right, Avanthi?
That is right.
Yes.
That is the talk of the town these
Welcome
days.
to the show. Um,
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, so I know our dear friend Lata connected us. She always knows the most amazing women, and so happy to have you on today. I know you are like bridging your career in Silicon Valley startups to, what you're doing now with this fund. And I see you have a really interesting background because you have advised everything from NASA to financial organizations. So it's no wonder I wanted to mention that you won CNBC's Woman Entrepreneur of the Year.
Thank you.
Hello, what an honor that must have been.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. So very happy to be in your show here. And yes, Lata is a very good friend. And I met you for the first time in Sacramento when you were screening the film, Show Her the
Right.
Money. Yes,
Yes.
what an amazing movie. Absolutely. And I'm so glad now it's available via streaming.
Thank you. Yes, we want more people to understand what venture capital is. I'm sure you do too. And about the women in this space, like yourself with the NextVersed Ventures, we want more women investing in venture capital, right, girl?
That would be so awesome. Yes. And I think it is starting to happen, but yes, we would like that to happen in much greater scale.
Yes, we've got to accelerate it. And with this large transfer of wealth happening, the biggest in history, women will have the financial power to be able to invest in venture capital more than they've ever been able to before. But I always like to mention too, you don't have to be wealthy to invest in venture capital, right? There are people that take 25, 50, 100,000 from a IRA and put it into this alternative wealth asset to help
Right.
really grow their wealth, but also to make an impact, right?
That is correct. And that is a useful way for them to learn how the startup ecosystem works. So, in their retirement age, if they want to sponsor startups or maybe mentor based on their career and their professional history, that would be a logical step for them to take on also.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you mentor a lot of these women, and I'm like, hey, if she's good enough for NASA, she's good enough for you. Uh, but we were just chatting before we came on that you had also done microfinance back in the day,
That's right.
reaching and helping over 30,000 women in India. Was that the catalyst to what you're doing today?
Well, I have been an entrepreneur a few times, some of them successfully and some of them not so.
And
Uh, the-
anybody who's an entrepreneur has that same story, or they're not telling the truth, right? Yeah, there's always wins
Yes,
and loses. That's how you get there, right?
yes, and what I would like to say is that I share the scar tissue of my failures with the fellow founders, which is why I think I'm in a position to kind of have a bond with the deals that I'm sourcing, and why why the founders might be interested in choosing NextVerse over any other firm in terms of their seed capital, because they want to be with somebody who understands that the journey that they're going through and is able to be empathetic and help them in that journey. Not an armchair VC. I mean, I wouldn't say armchair because all VCs work very hard, so I do not want to discredit anybody here. But there's difference in VCs who come up with an investing background and in VCs who come from an entrepreneurial background. At least that is what my experience and my intuition tells me.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Deep Tech Venture Fund that you are a general partner on, NextVersed Ventures. What kind of businesses are you looking for? And for our lay people that are listening, let's explain to them what deep tech means.
Okay, so deep tech basically is the frontier tech at any time. For example, when the internet came about in the late 90s, you could say that wide area connectivity and internet connections, that was deep tech at that time. And going forward, when social media came, what we call as the Web 2 revolution, the Web 2 was the deep tech at that time, with crypto and what have you. And now, when we're sitting at the verge of AI and quantum computing intersecting with each other, this is the deep tech. AI has already made its debut in a big way with Gen AI coming up in 2021. So everybody's talking about AI, and more startups are happening in that space, and they should be happening in that space. But what not so many people are talking about yet, and which is soon to be happening in the very near future, is quantum computing, because the promise of quantum computing is just out of the world in terms of the computing power and in the power it has to simulate nature and solve some of the problems that have been plaguing us for decades, ever
So
since I
what
would say the
exactly does quantum computing mean?
Oh, thank you for asking that question because I was wondering how to bring it about and explain it in a way that most people would understand. The basic difference is this, or the basic way how quantum computers are more powerful than regular computers is this. Our regular computers are made of simple bits, zeros and ones. And that is how the computer operations happen, whether it is simple math calculation or it's an AI LLM model. The entire complexity of operations are handled by the computer, transferred to the computer's operating system in terms of zeros and ones. Now, a qubit, which is the basic bit of a quantum computing machine, has not just zeros and ones, but possibilities of various zeros and ones. That means a value anywhere, but it could be zero and one, or could be both, or could be nothing. So it's just a wave of probability. So that because it shows so many quantum states, the number of permutations and combinations is to the power of n. So to explain it in another way, it has to depict or simulate a coffee molecule in a regular classical computing. We do not have enough bits to do that simulation. We would need more bits than there are atoms in the universe. This was a study done by IBM, and that is how they explained how difficult it is to simulate reality with our existing classical computers. Whereas a quantum computer, probably a 100 qubit quantum computer, or maybe a 300 qubit quantum computer, can do it.
Wow.
Because quantum computers act like nature acts.
Wow, that
So,
sounds fascinating. So
yes.
it'll make everything more robust and real. If you're like doing a sales presentation or something like that, it'll leap off the page instead of just being flat.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I love that metaphor. So the classical computers and quantum computers will coexist because each one has their own uh, uses and also areas of expertise. The qubits work that well because they have something known as the superpowers of a quantum element. Those superpowers are things like superposition, which is what I mentioned is a qubit. It's a wave of probability of where zeros or one could exist at any point in time, based on when the observer observes it. The other one is entanglement, which means that once two qubits get entangled, no matter how far away they are distributed in the universe, if one changes, the other changes accordingly. So
Mm.
this is the power of entanglement. So for connected systems, for connectivity systems, etc., it is very natural for them to work in a connected way, whereas for classical computers, we have to kind of program that into their structure. So these superpowers are existing because all quantum state elements have them, all subatomic elements and atoms and molecules, they behave that way. Nature behaves that way. And,
That's
and, and the
that's
qubits take advantage of
fascinating,
that.
and I'm so glad you understand this. No wonder you're advising people like NASA. Is this something NASA would use?
So when I did work for NASA, that was on a different way. It was before AI was called AI. We had implemented a system of search for them through a company called NextVersed Solutions. So it was that project.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
so this is what I want to know. You're the general partner of NextVersed Ventures. What is NextVersed Ventures looking for? Like, are there some specific explanations of what you're looking for?
That is a very good question. So next was just to explain a bit about what NextVerse is. It's basically a spin on the word universe. So we are investing in the next version of the universe because we feel that we are at an intersection point like none other in this century. It's
Right.
almost like when railroads happened in the 19th century and the internet happened in the late 20th century. We are at that level of new technologies coming to the fore. So what I'm looking for, like any VC is looking for, two things. One thing is for investors, and the other thing is for deals. Thankfully, because of my other venture partners and me being so connected and networked in the startup ecosystem, deal sourcing, we are in a position to attract the top 1% of deals that are happening in the United States ecosystem as of now.
When you say that, like, give me an example of someone that you all have invested in. What are they doing? Why do you think it's so cutting edge?
We are just about starting to invest. I'm working towards the first close of the fund, but we are talking to companies that are extremely exciting and they are in our deal pipeline. One such company is basically doing 4D level of mapping the coordinates, like how the current GPS system maps the coordinates in 2D. They are having a system which maps it in a 4D level. So the applications are like this. For example, if you wish to take a movie from all four directions, like maybe in a sports arena or something, you want to see exactly how the action is happening with not just length, width, and depth, but also the time element being involved, so you can move backwards and forwards. They are building the hardware and the software necessary for that. So this would be a breakthrough technology once their system is in place and tested.
I've heard that movies are going to be shot that way in the future, or, when you experience them, they're going to be in this whole new dimension. Does that tie into quantum computing?
Not necessarily.
Okay,
So this is AI doing the work. And
gotcha.
and yes, and this, yeah, so not exactly quantum computing, but quantum computing would come in when you're doing, for instance, new materials discovery. So either for new uses or for, like, say, drugs, for instance, coming up with new drugs, and one wants to see how those drugs are going to interact with the human body, with different types of humans, like based on maybe their genetic composition or sex or race or whatever it is like that. Quantum computing will reduce the time required to do that testing from maybe 10 years to probably under 6 months.
Oh
And
my
similarly,
gosh, that's revolutionary.
it
Wow.
is. It is because it can do so many permutations and combinations that quickly. Because then, like I said, it understands nature and behaves like nature, so it does not have to try to pretend to be nature like how the classical computers
Wow.
work.
That's amazing,
Similarly,
though. So a new drug comes out, used to take 10 years to get it approved. Now it could be tested through quantum. computing and be
In about
approved
6 months.
6 months.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Yes,
that
and then probably they would do human trials probably for a year or two. So the
right.
approval process would be reduced from 15-year cycle to probably 5-year cycle.
Wow,
And
that's
new
incredible.
materials for like say carbon capture, to improve our climate, those could be invented. To give you an example, University of California, Irvine, UCI, used quantum computers to come up with a new quantum state of a matter. I think it was called once again spin triplet excitonic insulator. So what this new state of material does is helps the computers from not degrading due to radiation when they are out in the in the space. Because when they're out in space, the radiation comes right on, and there is no protection of the ozone layer that we have here on Earth. So the computing equipment degrades pretty quickly. So this material they have invented, which resists that radiation. So potentially we could have computers in the space that can work well for a long time.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, what kind of AI products are you looking for?
We have developed a very strict kind of methodology to support our investment theses. We are looking for AI products that have a definite moat, that are defensible in the sense that we're looking for products that are not just wraparounds to the LLMs or something like that, because those are not so defensible, and some other vendor or founder could come and easily compete with them. So we worked out a clear investment thesis actually. One thing is this defensibility. The second thing is in the TRL level, the technology readiness level, where do they lie? So to just give you a brief, TRL levels are is a standard brought out by NASA actually to explain where a product is in terms of its evolution and reaching the market in terms of product market fit. So TRL levels of say 6 to 9 are closer to being tested in the market by the consumer, and TRL levels below that are basically in the research stage. So there is a scientific risk involved in that. So NextVersed invest in those companies that are beyond the scientific risk and are coming to the execution risk. That means the idea has been tested, the technology has been tested. Now, what has to happen is do a proper product market fit and do the GTM. That is the growth strategy to increase the sales. So that is the point that we would enter the thing.
What?
And we think about exit right at the time of investing.
Yes, of course. And what is the most fascinating AI innovation that you've seen so far, if you had to just pick one?
Oh my God, that is such a difficult one. Maybe if you'd asked me, sent me the questions, I could have prepared better for the
How do you
answers,
feel?
I
Like,
guess.
how do you feel about the different AI tools that people are using? Like, how does Claude compare to, the other AI products? Something like that.
Okay. So, yeah, some people might not like what I say, but I used to use ChatGPT quite a bit. But then when Gemini overtook them, I moved on to Gemini. I still use Gemini. And Perplexity is my go-to for just simple questions that I want to ask because it shifts very quickly between models. But I would say the one of the clearest winners is Claude. So it's a tie between Claude and Gemini for me, for my particular use. But once I start getting into using the code, which I plan to use, I think Claude is going to win over. But you never know about Google. They might come up and overtake. You
It
never know.
might. Well,
They might. But as of now,
you heard it here from CNBC's Woman Entrepreneur of the Year. You heard it
yeah.
here first. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share about NextVerse AI or your fund, NextVerse Ventures?
Yes, there's a new initiative that we have undertaken, which is we're exploring the possibility of setting up an incubator for quantum computing and AI startups. And the location is here in India. That's why my trip here is in India. We already have the property available, 20,000 square feet. And one of the major quantum computing companies has already given a verbal yes to partner with us. The I's have to be dotted and T's have to be crossed, so that's why I'm not talking about it as yet. And also, one of the major educational institutions might be becoming our research partner. So, with the industry partner and the research partner, I think we would be off to a very good start.
Amazing. Well, you know what, Avanthi, you're doing incredible work in the world and especially in the hottest market that there is right now, obviously AI. So everybody needs to follow NextVersed AI. Look into if you're wanting to invest in venture capital, you're going to want to be checking out NextVersed Ventures, see if it aligns with your what you're wanting to invest in. I always say everybody should have a thesis of what it is they want to get behind, and then invest in that and invest in women, women innovators. We need that,
Absolutely.
right, Avanti?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, absolutely, Catherine. You said
yeah.
it so well.
So how do they find Next Verse Ventures? What's your website? What's your social?
My LinkedIn is very simple. It's my name, LinkedIn/in by my full name, Avanthi Shah.
I'm going to spell your name for them. So you can find Avanthi Shah on LinkedIn. It's Avanthi if you're just listening in. And the last name is Shah, Shah. So you can find her on LinkedIn. And then the website will be in our post
Yes.
and in our explanation. If you want to tell them the website, that's fine too.
No, that's fine. The LinkedIn is a good way to reach me, and my email is another good way, which is avanthi@nextverse.vc. That's Avanthi at nextverse.vc.
Fantastic. And NextVerse Ventures has a website?
Yes, that's right. I've sent it to Roxanne in the bio.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, everybody can Google NextVerse Ventures as well. And of course, come visit our movie website, showherthemoneymovie.com, and check it out on Amazon and Apple TV. You're not going to want to miss our award-winning movie that is all about women in venture capital. And also, sheangelinvestors.com. If you want to build your wealth and you want to build your business, check us out with all the free resources that are on our site. Again, sheangelinvestors.com. You can find Avante or myself on LinkedIn, Catherine Gray, Catherine with a C, Gray with an A, and we hope you will connect with us. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Avanti, thank you for being a brilliant guest. Appreciate it. Make it a great week, everyone.
Thank you.